So today we're going to be looking at the latest offering in the Sony A7 range, the A7III. Now, many people consider the predecessor to this camera, the A7 II, to be one of the best all-round photo and video cameras. So I'm really excited to see how the A7 III performs. We're going to be putting this camera through its paces with video and also photo. We're shooting on this video on an A7 III and we're taking photos on an A7 III. And we've come to an incredible location today. It's quite eerie here, but I think this is going to be a really good place to put this camera through its paces, see how this camera performs in low light, and also how the dynamic range is. So I'm really excited to try this out. God, look at this. It's like from an old operating room or something. I kind of don't want to touch anything in here. It's kind of like they've literally just stood up and ran out of this place. I think it's been derelict from, for a good couple of decades now. So what about the ergonomics of this camera? I actually find it really, really nice to use. I know that Sony has taken a lot of stick for their menu systems, but I don't find it a problem. I mean, you just get a new camera, you learn how the menu is, and with this camera, I've kind of set it up how I like to shoot, and then I can just leave it. Everything else I've got, settings-wise, is at my fingertips. I've got the exposure compensation, I've got a dial for my shutter speed, and a dial at the front for my aperture, and a really simplistic layout on the back. You've got a little joystick for choosing your focus points. So I think they've really, really designed these cameras really well. I also really like the kind of very geometric shape of it. It feels very modern. One of the ways in which cameras over the last 10 years have improved the most is in low light performance. The high ISO capabilities across all the camera companies are pretty good now, but Sony, having been in the full frame mirrorless game longer than the competition, are producing cameras that just wipe the floor with the competition in low light. What this means is that you can shoot in kind of challenging light situations, so kind of like we are today. There's lots of shadow, little puddles of natural light, and you're able to save a lot of the information in the shadows in post-production. This is going to be really, really important if you're shooting events, if you're a wedding photographer, for example, where you're quite often shooting in really, really challenging lighting conditions. You know that you're going to be able to save a lot of information, whereas in the past you might have lost shots. Another thing this is really good for is it gives you a lot more flexibility with your other settings. You know that you can shut your lens down to f/16 if you need to, and that you're going to be able to pick up the slack with the ISO. So this makes this camera really, really versatile in kind of all lighting conditions. So I've switched over to a native Sony lens, the 55mm 1.8. But it's also worth mentioning that with the Sony mirrorless systems, they're really adaptable to other manufacturers' lenses. You can really easily, with an adapter, put Canon glass on and Nikon lenses as well. So that's something to bear in mind. If you've already invested heavily in a Canon system, for example, you can still use a lot of those lenses with this camera. This is probably one of the eeriest places I've ever been in my life. So at the end of the day, shooting with the A7 III, what do I think of it? Well, I've really enjoyed shooting with it. I think the form factor is great. I think it excels in low light. I haven't felt at any point that I've been held back by the ISO capabilities of this camera. The autofocus is really, really quick. Now, I wasn't testing that with sort of really fast-moving objects today. It was more kind of fixed points. But I'm pretty confident that this will be able to keep up. So who is this camera for? Well, if you're someone like me that shoots both video and photo, then this might be the perfect option. I'm always looking for that perfect hybrid camera, just one system that I can invest in, and I can just have one camera for both photo and video. With this camera, they're bringing in the image quality from the A9 and the best video features from the A7S II. So right now, the A7 III is the best offering from Sony for doing both photo and video in one package. Now, this video has been sponsored by mpb.com, where you can buy, sell, and trade all of your camera gear. And I'll leave links to all of the gear below for you to have a look at. It's where I buy and sell all my gear as well, so I can really vouch for it. Now, MPB have really kindly lent me this gear for the video today because I really, really wanted to try this system and the A7 III. And as they're not affiliated with any particular camera brand, and neither am I, I'm able to give you my completely impartial advice. And these are my honest opinions about shooting with this today. But I'm also interested to hear how you find this camera, if you have any experience of it below. And also, if you have any questions about any of the shooting I've done today, then just let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This video is sponsored by MPB.